Hello, David Zaritsky for the Bond Experience. Welcome back. Look who I am joined by. It is a fan favorite, Dr. Felix. Dr. Felix, welcome back.
Thank you for having me again.
We couldn't help it. Your last video was amazing. Lots of people interested in the whole idea of nutrition, science, medicine. Obviously, one of the things that I like about Felix, I mean, this is why I think we're friends, is he practices what he preaches. So he's in really good shape because he practices the medical and science aspects of nutrition. But today we're going to take the whole idea of nutrition and pair it with its not too far distant cousin, which is fitness and working out. So let's start with the basics. You said something in the last video that I thought was really significant, but I want you to expand on it, which is you can't have one without the other. Like, it's great that you're going to put this great nutrition. You gave them some great ideas, even your own diet. But then what do we do with the physicality and why is it important?
Well, so I think, you said something in the last video as well, right? You said you can't outwork a bad diet.
That's right.
Right? And so that's absolutely true. Yep. But one of the best things that you can do for yourself, again, if we're talking about overall health, is, so, if you look at exercise, there's a few things to consider. One is the metabolic health, right? And this is where we're talking about like muscles, and we spoke in the last video about insulin resistance and the importance that, increased muscle mass actually gives a place for all that glucose to go.
Yes.
And then the other component is the cardiovascular fitness, right? And so that's a completely different thing than lifting weights and muscle mass, right? And so you have to take both of those things into account, all of which are impacted obviously by what you eat, but also by what exercises you do, right? And a number of the factors, what you do, how often you do it, and we'll probably get into those sorts of things.
Well, you said something that actually drove my curiosity because I know we got blunt. We're blunt instruments. We got very blunt last time, and we said, look, people have lied to us. Industries have lied to us. Corporations have lied to us about the food pyramid and all of these sort of misnomers we're ripping down. But there also used to be an exercise one that if you got on a treadmill for 1 hour, that's all you needed to do is just cardio, 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 and you would be fine into your 80s and 90s. What I've learned and what I've heard, and you tell me different, is that resistance training and muscle, like working out your muscle, lifting, weight training, is probably even more important than cardio. But as a doctor, what do you think?
So resistance training should be the cornerstone of every person's workout routine.
There you go.
Even if you are overweight and you're obese, absolutely you should be on some sort of calorie-restricted diet. But you still, again, for the thing that we talked about, increasing muscle mass is associated with increased metabolic health, right? So this idea that muscles are only there to move the body, right? For us to kind of have some sort of support structure for the skeleton, that's actually not true, right? So muscles are important, obviously, to move things, but as we talked about, muscle is the largest organ in your body, if you think of it like that, right? Because it is a metabolic organ. And when you work out, not only do you increase the amount of glucose that can be absorbed from the bloodstream, but also your body, your muscle sends signals, these chemical messengers called myokines. So you heard, what cytokines are, right? Chemical messengers produced by other cells, but your muscles also do that. And they, not only are there physical benefits to that, but also there are cognitive benefits to exercise.
By the way, I don't know if you know my channel well enough. We don't like to edit, but I got to fix your mic real quick.
No
Hold
problem.
on. Oh, wait for it.
Does that work?
Yeah, there we go. We're back.
All right. So there are cognitive benefits to exercise as well. So, even if you do need to lose weight, and we'll get into what you should do from a cardio perspective, maintaining muscle mass should still be the backbone of everyone's workout routine. Has to be. You cannot just do cardio. Absolutely not.
And here's what I have found. So as a reminder, nobody hasn't been watching. I'm 56 years of age, kind of in the middle of 56, so maybe even on the other half of like closer to 57. What I found is resistant and weight training from a muscle standpoint has helped me with everything from stamina to strength to balance. These are all things that we lose every single year and more and more. And we talk about the hashtag Bond Fitness Challenge. A lot of us are not just here to look like Daniel Craig or to look like James Bond. We're here to get in the best version of our lives. And it wasn't until I really started like P90X3 and resistant and weightlifting on a consistent basis that I really saw the positive effects of the way I climb stairs, the way I run. The other day I'm walking with Danielle around the neighborhood and my ankle came off the sidewalk and I went like this and I picked myself up and Danielle was like, oh, cat-like, being snarky that she is. But the whole thing was, honestly, that came from weight training and resistance.
Absolutely. So when you look at what is the major stimulus for maintenance of muscle mass and for putting on muscle mass, it is resistance training, specifically progressive overload, right? So
What's that?
So progressive overload is, so let's say you're in the gym and you're benching 150 pounds, you do that up to a certain number of reps and then eventually you go to 165 and then 170. So you need a stimulus in order to, that is the signal for your body. It says, okay, I need to lay down more muscle tissue next time so that I can lift more. But the other thing that you said is really, really important. And, the research used to think that as you get older, you lose muscle mass. And it was thought that there was this kind of like steady decline of muscle mass, right? 1, 2, 3% per year, like past, a certain age. But now it's pretty clear that that's actually not the case.
Oh.
What happens is that something happens and you have a severe injury or you fall.
Yeah.
Okay, or you fall or something, and then what happens is that you become deconditioned, right? And you're immobilized, and you lose a bunch of muscle mass, and now you're at another level, and you don't get back to that main function. So, from a practical aspect, there's a statistic which is kind of scary, is that of people that obtain a hip fracture,
Right.
around 30% of them, die within 1 year, right? So why is that? Well, part of it is because now they are immobilized,
Right.
right? They're bedridden for a long time. And many of them never get back to that function that they had before their injury. And so, of course, if you can't move and you can't do things, that is going to impact your cardiac health, your pulmonary health, your overall health. And so having more muscles is also a barrier, right? It's protection.
Yes,
So that if you were to fall, now you have extra muscle mass. It's protection. It's your armor.
Right.
Put it the way, it's your armor.
Right.
Right. And so,
I have no more armor. You stripped it of me.
no, you still have some armor, right? So everyone needs to absolutely, yes, you should do cardio. I'm not saying you should not do cardio. You absolutely should.
Right.
But maintaining muscle mass should be really the focus of most people's workout routine.
I want to connect this to James Bond because the one thing that Daniel Craig's trainer said was 6 months before they start filming, it's not that they're trying to bulk him up. They actually are trying to get his muscles conditioned. They're trying to retrain his muscles after eating like Lay's potato chips and things like that to get back into shape, only for the reason of not injuring himself and staying like competent during all these different like filming hours. He said the side effect, the result is you look great.
Right.
So the problem is that many people who clicked on this video thought, oh, Dr. Felix, he's a doctor and he studies nutrition and he's got the background and David's had his own journey. They're going to teach me how to look like an Adonis and Ryan Gosling. That is a side effect.
It's a side effect.
When you institutionalize and get the discipline and the consistency of doing these things, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, 100%. So, there are a few things to keep in mind when you're putting together any workout program first off. And you know what? And just like when we talked about the diet, and what I said last time, I said the best diet is the one that you're going to stick to.
Which I loved.
Right?
I love that one.
And the same thing applies here. The best workout routine is the one that you'll stick to, right? So if you go online and you see, the video and the guy's, shredded and he's working out 7 days a week, 3 hours a day. Like, yeah, that'll work with you for a week, or maybe 2 weeks. But if you can't be consistent with it, it doesn't matter, right?
Right.
Going into the gym one day and spending 3 hours doing chest, you're going to walk out. You're not going to look any different,
Right.
right?
Right.
So it is about consistency. So, the first most important thing, again, now we're assuming all the nutrition is correct, right? So we talked about the last video, right, is frequency, right? So how often are you training? And if you look at the literature, the ideal training frequency would be to hit every major muscle group 2 times a week. And the reason why that is because every time you work out, that is a stimulus for new muscle growth. And the way that your muscle grows is does something called muscle protein synthesis, right? And this is where the building blocks that we talked about last time,
Yeah.
you need to have adequate protein in order to build muscle. And muscle protein synthesis drops off after around 72 hours, right? So, which is why you want to hit, ideally, you're hitting every major muscle group 2 times per week so that you're constantly stimulating that muscle and you have adequate muscle protein synthesis.
So the people that are like, I'm going to do my biceps every day and get huge biceps, that actually works against you.
That would not be good, right? Because for one, your body needs to heal, right? The way that your body grows is, so your body gets bigger, your muscles get bigger when you're resting, not when you're working out.
Right.
Right. And so if you don't give your body adequate time to heal, then you can't lift the loads that are necessary in order to stimulate muscle growth. Okay. So the first one is frequency. Now, the second one is intensity.
Oh, okay.
Right. So,
yes.
You have to be working out hard.
Right.
Right. You can't just go and if you're lifting a weight that's too light and you're doing, let's say you're doing like 20 reps, 25 reps, that is not going to provide an adequate stimulus for muscle growth. Now, there is some literature out there that says if you are doing super high reps like that, but you are taking it to failure, you're taking it to failure, then it does provide a stimulus for muscle growth. But the optimal rep range for most exercises is somewhere between like 8 to 12.
Okay.
Again, this is adequate weight. We're lifting weight.
So that helps to determine how much weight also you're doing.
Yes, right.
Okay.
Yeah. And again, we're talking now about, we're not talking about the cardiovascular fitness component.
No.
We're just talking about the muscle mass component, right? We'll get to that later. And so the other thing that you have to consider is my routine adequate? Right? So, you go to the gym and you see people working out and, the boys, when we go to the gym together, and, my son would ask me, like, what's that guy doing? And I would look at him and I'd be like, I got no idea what that guy's doing. But he's doing a bunch of things.
Right.
Right. And so are you doing the appropriate exercises
Right.
in order to stimulate muscle growth? Then what I would recommend to people, especially if you're new on this journey, or you haven't been involved in working out for a long time, it is well worth it, if you can do it, to go get a trainer for like 2 or 3 sessions.
Yes.
Right? And important to pick the trainer, right? Because, there are trainers I see sometimes and I'm like, this person needs a trainer, right? I remember one time when I tried to do CrossFit, I was like, let me try out CrossFit. Everybody's doing it. I found this place doing CrossFit and I went there and the coach, or, whatever they're called, the instructor is running the CrossFit. This guy was overweight. He had a Dunkin' Donuts coffee that was this big, filled
delicious.
with cream, and he's like, yeah, jump 10 times.
He's got the milk mustache with the cream.
Jump up and down here, and then go flip this tire.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why am I taking workout advice from this guy? So, so Ray Dalio, he has this book called Principles, Work and Life, and he talks about, if you're going to ask someone for advice, you want to ask someone that he calls is a believable person. Right? Someone that's believable is someone that has achieved the results that you want at least 3 times.
That's a great point.
Right? So if you join a gym, and many times if you join, they'll give you a free session or 2 with the trainer just for joining. But go find someone that has the body that you admire, and then so they're the ones that showing you kind of what exercise you should do.
You are describing my initial journey back in 2008. So in 2008, I befriended my my kid's karate instructor, who was a young guy in really good shape, and then also someone that worked for me at the time, who's gone on to like run his own businesses, was in great shape. And the three of us decided to go to the gym. They were both 25 years old.
Right.
Right. So I was not. But what that allowed me to do is they trained me, and they were in great shape. So they trained me in the version that they knew how to do. And so number one, they trained me. They were my trainers. Number two, I had to keep up with them. So there's an old adage, it's wonderful, that says an athlete's best time is never when they're the best athlete in the race or whatever they're doing. Their best time is when they're going against somebody better than them, because they constantly are trying to catch up. It's that predatory response that we learned as Cro-Magnon. But I, sure enough, tried to catch up. And that's when I got like that whole idea of like muscle structure and what to do and failure, et cetera. So what Felix is saying is absolutely true. Try not to do this by yourself.
Yeah.
Try to find that individual who's the expert.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly worthwhile, especially if you're new to a routine, because you want a routine where you can ideally hit depending on how many days a week you're working out. So that's the first question, right?
Right.
So again, the best workout routine is the one that you can stick to. So the first question to ask is, how many days are you willing to commit to going to the gym? And that will determine what your workout routine should look like. So if you say, I'm willing to do 4 days a week. Okay, so now let's design you a workout routine that hits every major muscle group,
Right.
ideally twice, and within those 4 days.
Can we pause for a second?
Sure.
Because I want to talk about a philosophy, and I'd like to get your opinion. I don't know if you and I have even talked about this. The number one thing that I hear from people when they want to engage on the hashtag Bond Fitness Challenge is, I have no time. I'm a father. I have new kids. I have a busy job. I have 2 jobs. I like to sleep late. There's 1,000,001 excuses not to do the workouts and things that we're doing. Is there a particular philosophy to like smash through that?
Sure, I think that you just have to be honest with yourself. And listen, there are some people that genuinely do not have the time
Right.
to do it.
Oh,
right?
absolutely. Yeah.
Generally, right?
Mea culpa.
Right.
Mea culpa.
But most people, they have the time. Like, did you watch that Netflix show yesterday?
Which one?
No, I'm just saying.
Oh!
Like you can ask that question.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I watched the Netflix show. Well, you could have spent that time
Right.
working out.
By the way, I know you know, because we've talked about this. I have a philosophy about people saying I'm too busy and I don't have time. I always tell people, no, that means you just didn't prioritize it.
Absolutely.
Time is irrelevant. It's prioritization is everything.
Yeah.
So to your point, you could have, if you like to let's say you like to sleep in bed or sleep late or whatever it is, and you sleep late 20 minutes or 25 minutes. That's 25 minutes you could be doing something for yourself.
Absolutely. And, or how much time did you spend, this is relevant, how much time did you spend scrolling on your phone?
Yeah.
Did you spend 30 minutes scrolling on your phone? Well, you know what? You could have been exercising.
Here's
You could have
18
been
minutes watching Dr. Felix and David Zaritsky. You could have been doing
You could
something
have been
else.
walking. And even when the boys were small and when they were babies, the only workout that I could really get in, I got one of those jogging strollers.
Oh, yeah.
And I would put them in the
Such
jogging
a
stroller.
preppy thing.
And that's kind of what I had time for.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that it's easy. Listen, everyone has busy lives.
Yeah.
Everyone has stuff going on. But, you absolutely have to make this a priority, because, I read something a long time ago, and it talked about, I think it was a video I saw where this guy was talking. He says that he always puts fitness before business. Right? Because when things are good and you're feeling good, you're like, oh, well, where am I going on vacation? Where am I doing this? And stuff like that. But when you're sick, you only want one thing, right? You want to feel good again.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Right? So make that a priority, right? And you know what? Working out for 20 minutes, yeah, maybe it's not as good as working out for an hour, but you know what? It's better than nothing.
It's something. And I will tell you, the one thing I do, 2 things I do actually. Number one, I actually put my workouts in, even if they're not in the correct time, I put them as an appointment in my calendar. I put them as an appointment. It is as important, if not more important, for my health, for other people around me, for my psychology to put it in there. The second thing that I do is I constantly remind myself of the why. Why am I doing this? Why am I refusing that extra piece of carrot cake? Why am I going to salmon instead of that
You
delicious
refuse
smash
carrot cake?
burger? Every now and then. Well, I won't eat the whole thing. I'll give it to him. I'll give it to him. But the reality is that I have to, even me, and you probably do this too, I have to always go back to the core of why I'm doing this. You know, the fact that I feel better. I feel better about myself. I'm in competition with myself. The fact that I want to go through a life trying to chase after the best version of myself as opposed to regretting what I've become.
But it's also,
those are big.
You know, very big. And I think those are great because I think the same way, but it's also a very unselfish thing to do.
By the way, I'm drinking seltzer. People are seeing me like swig this and they're like, he's drinking beer while talking about fitness. It's
Right.
seltzer. Anyway,
No, sure.
were you saying unselfish what?
It's a very unselfish thing to do because the way that I think of it also is that I can't show up for everyone else that I need to show up for unless I take care of myself.
That's
right?
it.
So if I'm not,
It's the plane thing. When
Yes.
the oxygen falls, take care of yourself and then take care of the little brat next to you.
yes, right?
I mean,
and
your
so,
child.
and you know, and then, so David, but you say something interesting. So again, if we look at the clinical studies, and we talk about what does the data show in terms of exercise, right? So the largest benefit, right? So if you break it up into quintiles, like 20, 0 to 20, 20, 40, 40, 60, 60, 80, and 80 to 100, the greatest benefit in terms of mortality actually comes from going from the least fit quintile,
Right.
like up to the next one, right? So, which kind of makes sense. So if you're already pretty fit, right, becoming a world-class professional athlete, let's say getting into that top like X percent, right? There's very little incremental benefit because you were already pretty fit to begin with, right? But if you are overweight and obese and sedentary and you're not moving your muscles, you're not using this, and you just start moving it a little bit, the magnitude of the benefit that you see is tremendous.
Right.
Tremendous. From 0 to even just something is a lot. So don't think, oh, I can't work out for an hour a day. That's fine, but you can work out for 20 minutes,
That's right.
right? And so do something.
But I almost feel like that type of aspect is in the beginning, because once you get started, you get so into the whole idea of looking forward to the fitness moment, to the exercise, to the walking, to the lifting, that you come to like not go, because I know a lot of people are like, oh, I got to get to the gym. If that's how you're feeling about getting to the gym, do something around your house, do something around your apartment, like start off with small steps so you begin to love it and then advance that feeling.
Yeah, but I would say that,
Don't disagree with me. It's my channel.
I'll disagree just a little bit. Because what I would say is that, people think, oh, I'm not motivated. I don't have enough motivation. But you don't need motivation. You need discipline.
What's the
right?
difference?
Well, so motivation is I feel like doing this today. And so
Right.
therefore I'm going to do it. Discipline is doing the thing that you know you should be doing
Regardless.
even when you don't feel like it. Like there's a lot of times I'm in the gym, a lot of times where I'm like, oh, okay, a few more sets and I get to go home.
Right.
Right? Like I can't wait to go home.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But this is something that's non-negotiable.
But your dopamines don't kick in where you're like, man, I could do this all the
After, of course.
Oh,
Yeah.
after. okay.
Listen, but it's like that with anything, right? It's maybe it takes some energy to get started, but once you start doing it, you feel good after. Like
Right.
doing hard things makes you feel good after, right? Always. Whether you do something whether you're like learning something and like, oh, I figured it out, or you're working at the office and you got this big project and like, oh, we did great project.
It's that exhale afterwards.
Right.
It's that's true.
And it makes you feel good. So you have to make it a habit, right? So
Right.
say it takes like 67. You need to do something 67 times before it becomes a habit.
6 to 7 or 67?
67.
Why not 68 or
That's just,
65?
that
That
maybe
sounds
for
like a
s-
made up
maybe for some people it's less.
statistic.
That's just what it says in the books, right?
By the way, 68% of all statistics are made up.
Right. Yes, I know. Yes. So who knows? But it does take a habit. So what I would say, again, getting back to what you said, yeah, of course, clean around the house, do something, anything to be active if you want to go to the gym. But I say to people, and I've had this conversation with people, I say, you can do anything for a week, right?
Right.
Like
True.
you could do anything for a week. So
Yeah.
just say, you know what, on this week, I'm going to go to the gym.
Oh, I like that.
You know what, Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, right? Because you have no reason even if you say I'm going to only go to the gym 3 days a week, that's fine. You have absolutely, I don't care how busy you are, you have zero excuse not to be able to go to the gym on a Saturday or a Sunday. You should have nothing to do. So that means you have to squeeze 2 gym days in,
Yeah.
Monday through Friday.
By the way, that could mean slight alterations of your life, like getting up an hour early.
Absolutely,
But,
right.
But that's you have to really measure out, is the reward versus the risk or the opportunity.
Yeah, and I've had this conversation with people as well. They say, "Oh, but I like to stay up and stay up late and watch TV." Okay, well
That's a
then,
choice.
well then you can't get up, and that's why I choose to go to the gym in the morning, as you know.
Yeah.
Right. So I like to get up at 4:30 or 5 because I like to get it out of the way, so that way,
Yeah.
no matter what happens the rest of my day.
And that's
No
where
matter-
the better looking women are.
Right. Maybe. Yeah. I don't know. Well, the gym I
It's
go
okay,
to.
he's single, relax.
The
everyone.
gym that I go to, but no, but it's true. But just but to get it out of the way, because to me, like you said, that is a priority,
Right.
right? And so, so like somebody say, oh, but I'm tired, I have less energy. Okay, that's true. But what can you do? Well, instead of going to sleep at 12, what if you go to sleep at 10? Right? Like,
Yeah.
like if you get 8 hours of sleep, and we haven't even talked about sleep yet, right?
No, I don't want to talk about sleep. That's part 3.
Okay,
But I will say there's a tipping point with this, with what you're talking about, because I feel if I do not work out, I actually feel sleepier. I feel more run down during the day.
absolutely, of course, yeah.
What's that all about, doctor? Does that
Well-
is it because it's spiking my energy levels? What's going on?
Yeah. So what happens? So when you work out, right? So again, your body releases endorphins first of all, so you feel good,
Right.
right? Cognitively, there are numerous cognitive benefits, right? You're sharper, you're smarter, right? You're much more aware. It's
Pithy, sarcastic, all those things.
Yeah, all those things. And so you do feel better. Again, you get this. Your body wants it to do things that are good for itself.
Right.
Okay, and so as we talked about in the last video, we touched upon this. If you work out, your body is actually more efficient at burning fuel, right? So you're going to be wide awake, you're going to be sharper, you're going to have more energy because you're doing the things that your body wants it to do. Your body wants to move. We are creatures. We're supposed to move.
Yes.
And so, yes, of course, it makes perfect sense that if you exercise, you're going to feel better. Your muscles will feel better. You'll look better. All again, as you said, looking better is just a byproduct,
It's
right? But you will feel
side
better,
effect.
right, in all aspects of your life.
Agreed. Now, I want to break it down for something very simple as a little bit of a takeaway. The last thing I want them to hear about. In the last video, we talked about an example of your diet. You said, look, I've got plain diet, but you went through and it was very eloquent. From a workout standpoint, can you give us an idea of what you do for a workout?
Yeah, so I mean, my workout will vary, every few months, maybe like every 6 months it changes, because what happens is once you plateau, you need to start changing things up.
Yes.
So the typical workout routine that most people do when they start working out is called a bro split.
Bro?
Bro split.
Like
That's what it's
bro,
called,
like
right?
bro.
Right.
Bro.
So, and this is where, okay, I'll do chest Monday, back Tuesday, legs Wednesday, shoulders Thursday, arms Friday, right?
Okay.
So you kind of pick one major muscle group a day and you do that. Now, as we talked about, that is not ideal. Ideal is that you're hitting every major muscle group 2 times a week. Now, you can say, oh, well, when you do back, you're hitting some biceps, right? And depending on what exercise you do, right? When you're doing chest, you're doing some triceps. And so that's one way to do it. The other way to do it is you can split up and kind of do like a push-pull sort of situation, right?
Yes.
So let's say one day, my push day, let's say you're doing chest, triceps and shoulders, right? So pushing away from you, right? You're pushing things away from you. And then your pull day will be you're doing back and biceps exercises,
Right.
right? So you can do push-pull, then maybe throw a leg day in there, and then you can have an upper-lower day, where my upper day, I'll do maybe like one set of chest, one set of biceps, so it's not
Is
a
that where the
pull
whole
exercise.
joke comes from? Like, oh, he skips leg day or things like that?
No, I mean, a lot of people skip leg day because leg day is very hard. Legs, some people that like to do legs, most people do not.
Right.
But it's all very important to do legs because your legs are actually the strongest muscle group in your body, right? You could there are people that can squat 1,000 pounds, right? So a lot of your muscle mass
Jeez.
is actually contained within,
Right.
within your legs.
So you got to work out.
And plus also by working out, it also, again, you boost the hormones, right? You boost the metabolic response. So again, maybe like I have one bad knee, so I don't go like super heavy when I do
How'd you get a
legs.
bad knee? Someone shoot you
Just
in
like
it?
running, running all the time and things like that.
You're
But
young.
but you but you still need to do something because you want to work out that muscle group.
Right.
But again, as we said before, the best workout routine is the one that you're going to stick to,
Yeah.
right? So this is where I think if you've never done it before, the first question, say, how many days a week am I willing to go to the gym and when
Okay.
am I going to go?
Commitment
I think what
first.
you did is actually really smart, right? Putting it in your calendar. Because I do that. I look at my schedule and I'll say,
Have
okay,
to.
like I print out my calendar and I say, okay, these are the meetings I have to go to. These are the calls I must attend. When am I going to the gym?
Right.
Like that's literally, that's what I think about. My day revolves around what time I'm going to the gym. And then say, okay, how many days a week am I going to go? And then once you do that, then say, okay, then you can think about, okay, what is my routine going to look like? And again, as you said, and I recommend that, get a trainer, someone
yeah.
to help you and say, listen, I'm willing to commit to 3 days a week. 4 days a week would be better. I don't know if 3 days a week is enough, but you got to start somewhere. And we haven't even talked about like the cardiac, right? The cardio
Right.
fitness yet. We haven't gone there. Maybe we want to talk about that for a few minutes, but do that first and then get some help from someone to put together a great routine for you that you will stick with. And then once you get to the point where, like what you and I are saying, where you don't feel right if you don't go to the gym, you've won.
You've won. And then
Right.
all ships rise, not just the
Right.
physical ones, but the mental ones. You know what? Do us a favor. Give us a 4-minute tops, 4-minute stint on cardiovascular, kind of your point of view on it.
So if you look at cardiovascular fitness, there are two different ways to look at it. One is cardiovascular fitness from the fat loss perspective, like I'm doing cardio to burn fat.
Okay.
And the other one is I'm doing cardio for endurance.
Right.
Okay, so they both serve a role. Let's talk about the fat loss one first, right? So people say, oh, walking isn't good cardio, right? Or some people say it is, some people it's not. Like, oh, I have to do this or I have to do HIIT or whatever. That's absolutely not true. Walking is amazing cardio, right? And what we talked about before, depending on what fuel you burn, right? Or I should say, depending on the exercise you do, that will help determine what fuel you burn. And so our bodies are designed to burn both glucose and fat, right? So if we were going back to like the hunter-gatherer days, you and I would have to go and follow this animal for miles. And so we would need fat to be able to go slow and steady pace to
Right.
keep up with this animal. But then when we wanted to attack, we would have to go all out, rapid fast, and kill it. And those are the two systems. So glucose is for that really rapid, fast, sprinting sort of movement,
Yes.
right? Where you're anaerobic, right? So your body is generating energy, but it's doing it without the use of oxygen. That's why you can only do it like for a few seconds, right? Or for like 30 seconds because you're not utilizing oxygen as fuel. Whereas steady state cardio, you're actually consuming oxygen and you're able to do that for a prolonged period of time. And so the lower intensity, it's called zone 2 training. So
Right.
there's different zones. The lower intensity, so if you and I are going for a walk and we can have a conversation, it's a little uncomfortable, but we can still do it. That's actually where you want to be.
That's perfect.
That's where you want to be
Yeah.
in order to burn fat. Now, the other side of that is the endurance component is different. So everyone should have some element of real endurance training because there's a measure called VO2 max. So it's essentially V stands for velocity, O2 is oxygen. This is the maximal amount of oxygen consumption that your body can utilize during exercise.
Right.
And so VO2 max is one of the best predictors of mortality. And so 1 day a week, you actually want to have endurance training. And so maybe it's, going out for a very, very brisk walk, really, really fast. Like
Right.
it should be uncomfortable.
Right.
Right?
It should
And-
look ridiculous.
It should look that, or
Right.
whether it's swimming or rowing or whatever it is. It could be jumping. It doesn't matter. But you want to train for endurance at least 1 day a week because that, again, has been very much associated with a high prediction of mortality. And they have, you can Google this, they have like VO2 max tables.
Right.
Right? What should your ideal VO2 max be for your age?
They have tables for that?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's a research.
Do you have to
on
make
this.
reservations for those tables?
No tables. You can Google it.
Because this is a very Bond thing. I mean, look, you watch all these James Bond actors, most of them at least, running and doing things and scaling things. I mean, if you want to try to be in Bond shape, having the endurance and the stamina to do that is vital.
Absolutely, right? So again, if you're doing cardio to burn fat, okay, walking is amazing cardio. Walking is great. You want to make it a little harder? Like when I do it at the treadmill, like at the gym, I think it's like an 8% incline.
Right.
Go hiking outside.
Yeah.
You could do a lot of things. People do rucking where they put like a backpack
Yeah.
with weights in
Or
there.
the Titan shirts that have the weights in there.
Exactly,
Yeah,
right? And so
those are
that makes it
great.
even harder. And so for fat loss, cardio is great,
Right.
And if you are going to do cardio on days when you're working out, do it after you finish working out. Don't do it before. Do cardio after you're lifting weights, because
Okay.
by then,
Taxes you and
well, that's actually, but by then your blood glucose and your muscle glycogen has already been depleted,
okay.
right? And so, it's not like you only burn glucose or you only burn fat. All these things are happening at the same time, but you've already depleted your glycogen stores to a large extent, and so now you're burning fat much faster. So if you're going to do cardio, either do it then or do it first thing in the morning on an empty stomach. Because if you do it first thing in the morning on an empty stomach, there have been studies that have shown that you burn fat up to 300% faster. Because
gosh.
because you haven't eaten in 8 hours. You've
Right.
essentially had an overnight fast.
Yeah.
Right? And so you burn fat much faster because all your glycogen stores are low. So if you're going to do cardio, walk either after you work out or first thing in the morning, and you should do it 1 day a week at least for endurance purposes.
Yes.
Which is not walking, but it's more of like really high intensity and running.
Your time management skills are terrible. That was more than 4 minutes, but it was very interesting. I didn't want to stop you. Felix, thank you. Listen, we could talk for hours. We're going to have you
Yes.
back on the show.
Sure, I would love to
talk more of this stuff.
Thank you.
Dr. Felix,
Thanks for
thank you
having me.
so much. This is the Straight
Thank you.
Poop, everybody. And of course, as usual, this has been David Zritsky for the Bond Experience, talking about the Bond Fitness Challenge. We're all on it. We're all living it and feeling it. Talk to you soon. Thanks for watching this episode. If you want to be up on the latest from the Bond Experience, just click on this subscribe and subscribe to our channel. You're going to get all the latest and greatest information, plus some exclusive content. And by the way, speaking of content, here's something especially for you, just because we know you. Talk to you soon.